Hello everybody, how is it going today? It is Tyler here with Zone In Sports, and in today's video we will be zoning in on the college football week 5 lines, going over some of our picks. So before we get started, I'll say, my bad on getting this up late once again, late Friday night. It's just long weeks, man. Working, man, it's tough, tired, but I'm not going to go on about that too much. Just know that I'm going to try my best to get these videos out a little bit earlier each week going forward. And so without further ado, real quick, I will go over the Friday picks real fast in case you see this in time, which it'll be close. Either way, the stuff will be on Twitter, of course, for our Friday plays. So I gave this out in our week 4 recap where I gave out the reasoning and all that. So if you want the reasoning, it's there, or just ask and I'll let you know why I was on each pick. And we ran a 3-leg parlay on DraftKings. It gave us a plus 291 odds. If you were to do this today now, you could also add the 100% profit boost that they have. So going forward, I'm definitely going to be waiting till Friday to do my Friday parlays whenever they are even something that I'll do. But it's happened the last 2 weeks now where I make the parlay early and then the day comes and there's profit boost for it. So I ended up making another one anyways, but either way, we'll just stick with the 3-leg we gave out the other day. Tulane and Houston over 51, UTSA and Middle Tennessee State over 57, and then Washington money line. Like I said, 3 legs parlay on DraftKings, plus 291 odds there. And we will go ahead and get into the Saturday slate. And I'll just go over a few games, of course. I'm not going to go over every single pick we have. It takes way too long. But we'll go ahead and talk about a couple of these noon matchups. Lots of good games this week, man. But starting off at noon, we got number 7 Kentucky getting 6.5 points as they travel to number 14 Ole Miss. Both teams are 4-0 on the year. Kentucky 3-1 against the spread. Ole Miss 2-2 against the spread. Over/under on this game is 53.5. Now remember, these odds can change, especially from the ones I'm saying and the ones you're seeing on the screen, because I don't even remember when I got these screenshots. It was probably a couple of days ago or whenever it was. Either way, just know the odds change a little bit here and there. Any questions, like I said, just comment below or hit us up on Twitter and I'll clear anything up on line movement. But the last matchup was in 2020, so they didn't play last year. They're in opposite divisions there in the SEC. Last season, or 2 years ago, it was Ole Miss getting the victory 42-41 at Kentucky. So a very high scoring game that was. It went to overtime. And like I said, it was 2 years ago. As far as the stats go, Kentucky's pass defense is number 15 in the nation, man. I really like their defense. And, they looked very good against Florida a couple of weeks ago. And then Ole Miss's pass offense is actually 98th in the country. So I thought it would be a little better than that, man. But 98th in the country, that's bottom of the barrel, very, very low. They do run the ball much better, as Ole Miss has the number 4 rush offense in the country. But Kentucky does have the number 32 ranked rush defense, which is still solid, man. They're good against both the pass and the run. So with Ole Miss not being good against the pass at all, I'd expect Kentucky to be keying in on that run all week long, man. They're going to be on top of everything they can possible when it comes to Ole Miss running the ball. And we've seen this Kentucky team go on the road and get tough victories. Like I said, that Florida one was at Florida, so another road test here for them early in the season. And I'm not going to have a straight pick on this one, but I'm definitely going to be taking Kentucky in some teasers or just buying points and parlays. I'll get them to like plus 10.5, most likely just run it there, maybe 11.5. And definitely like them to cover, think they could possibly win. I'm just not super confident in it, and just them being on the road kind of scares me. But I don't know. I like betting on teams that have good defense, so that's probably what's got me on them here. Kentucky, they've covered 5 of their last 7 overall. and they've won 8 straight games straight up. So 8 straight wins for Kentucky right now. So I like that the team's hot, riding off of a good end of last season, doing good to start this year as well. And they have covered 7 of their last 10 against SEC opponents, and they've covered 4 of their last 5 October matchups. Ole Miss has covered 4 straight following an ATS loss, but they've only covered 1 of their last 5 at home. And both teams here have very good under trends, so maybe something to consider there. But as far as what I'm playing, it'll just be Kentucky considered in some teasers. Get them up to around plus 10.5, 11.5. That's how I'll be playing this game. Definitely like them to keep it close, man, even if they don't get the victory. Another noon kickoff. We got Texas Tech getting 7.5 points as they travel to Kansas State. Both teams are 3-1 on the year. Texas Tech 2-2 against the spread. Kansas State 3-1 against the spread. Over/under on this game is 57.5. Last time these two teams met was last season, and Kansas State went to Texas Tech and got the victory 25-24. So very close matchup there last season. And, I'm expecting it to be a close one again this time around. Now, I believe this spread would be much, much closer if Kansas State didn't just get that victory against Oklahoma last week. But if you watched the last video, I talked a lot about how some of these teams in college just don't know if they want to be good or bad. Like Kansas State, for example, looked very good, absolutely blew out Missouri a few weeks ago, and then the next week they followed up, losing at home, barely scoring any points against Tulane. And then the next week after that, they go into Norman and beat Oklahoma. So it's like, technically they'd be due for their bad week, right? So I'm banking on that. And even if they don't play bad, I still think Texas Tech will be able to do good enough to keep it within a touchdown. I mean, I think it's wild that they're getting 7.5 because, look at them. They got a nice victory too last week, taking down Texas in overtime. Of course, Texas and Oklahoma are 2 different teams this year for sure, especially without Ewers there for the Longhorns. But either way, I think this Texas Tech team is pretty solid, man. Definitely better than I expected them to be this season so far. Still got a lot to learn as we get more into conference play here, but I definitely am going to just take Texas Tech plus 7.5 here as our first straight play of the day. Another noon kickoff in the Big 12 Conference. One of the teams we just mentioned, 18th ranked Oklahoma, laying 6.5 at TCU. TCU is 3-0 on the year, covered all 3 of those games. Oklahoma 3-1, covering just 2 out of those 4 games. Over/under was 67.5. I believe it is up to 68.5 now. Remember, these lines will continue to move throughout each day. The last matchup between these 2 teams was, I believe, last season. Yep, Oklahoma absolutely whacked them 52-31 at home. Of course, this year at TCU this time. And, Oklahoma, I think their defense is better this year than it was last year. The offense maybe have taken a step back. But TCU, man, they've looked pretty solid. It's a team that I like for sure. But with the whole thing with teams looking good one week, bad the next, and good again. Oklahoma, tough loss last week to Kansas State. The play we will be on here is on those Sooners to bounce back and cover that minus 6.5 for us there. Straight play, Oklahoma minus 6.5, minus 110. Like it a lot. The odds on the Texas Tech plus 7.5 was minus 106. I don't believe I said that. But yeah, Oklahoma minus 6.5 against TCU here. I like that. For the team stats, Oklahoma is the number 34 pass offense in the country going against TCU's number 107th ranked pass defense. So definitely like Oklahoma to be able to move the ball in this one. And Oklahoma is number 7 as far as yardage per game offensively, going against TCU, who has the number 67 ranked defense when it comes to giving up yards per game. So, yeah, I definitely think Oklahoma's offense will be able to get the job done here to win by at least a touchdown. I think they could probably win by 10 to 14, somewhere in there. TCU will definitely be able to score at least some points. Of course, Oklahoma, I believe, will be a much better defensive team in the next couple of years once Venables is able to continue to get his system implemented and get his guys in there. Got to get ready for the SEC ball in a few years, right? But yeah, their D has improved for sure, but still not great by any means. And yeah, TCU, I think, could run the ball decently. Let me see what I got for them. TCU actually has the number 9-0 as far as yardage goes, going against Oklahoma's D, which is number 61. And then TCU number 21 rush offense going against OU's number 86 rush defense. So that is the one worry there. Like I said, man, I like TCU's run game, and that is a spot where they could exploit the Oklahoma defense. So I'm not expecting TCU to air it out much in this one. So see if they try to, run the ball a lot, control the clock, try to control the possession of the game here. But either way, I think Oklahoma will be able to throw the ball well enough to get ahead and cover that 6.5 for us. As far as trends go, got Oklahoma covered 4 straight following an ATS loss. They've covered 6 of their last 8 October games and 6 of their last 7 against TCU. And they've covered 7 of their last 9 Week 5 matchups, and they've covered 5 of their last 7 against a team with a winning record. And on the other side, TCU, they've only covered 2 of their last 8 home games, and only 1 of their last 5 in October. So yeah, definitely on Oklahoma minus 6.5 as a straight play here. And moving on to a 3:30 kickoff. Yet another Big 12 matchup, man. This one's top 25 matchup as well. You got number 9 Oklahoma State getting 2.5 as they travel to number 16 Baylor. Oklahoma State is 3-0 this season, 2-1 against the spread. Baylor 3-1 overall and 3-1 against the spread. Over-under on this matchup is 56.5. Not going to mess with the total at all here, but just know that there are great under trends all around, man, for this matchup. The head-to-head trends say under. Oklahoma State's trends say under, as well as Baylor's, man. So keep that in mind. I definitely would not hate throwing in some teasers for sure. Saying no straight play on that one for me. I will have a straight play on this game, but not on the total. So last season, Baylor won this matchup at Oklahoma State 21-16. It was a tough one, man. I remember watching it because both these teams I bet on a lot last season. I like both these teams a lot, so just know that. It is very tough for me to pick this game, but I am going to do it, man. I think Oklahoma State is going to get the revenge, man. They're going to get their revenge, and since Baylor came in and won at their house last season, Oklahoma State's now going to go to Baylor and get the victory there in Waco. So we'll be on Oklahoma State plus 2.5 at minus 110 as our official straight play on this. I'll definitely also consider taking the money line in a couple parlays, but as our official straight play, it will be Oklahoma State plus 2.5 at minus 110. Now this number has bounced back and forth between 2.5 and 1.5. And, I've seen it at 2.5 more, and that's where I got it at when I last did my notes and all that good stuff. So that's our play. As far as team stats go, we got Oklahoma State is the number 8 offensive yardage per game team in the country, and they are number 1 in points scored per game in the country. They also have the number 9 passing offense. Now on the other side, I think both these teams have solid defenses. Looking at Baylor, they are the number 24 defense when it comes to giving up yardage allowed per game defensively. But against the pass, they are number 70. So much, much better against the run is Baylor's D, but number 70 against the pass, which honestly sounds a lot worse than it is. That's not super terrible, but it's slightly worse than the middle of the pack in the country. So especially when you're going against the number 8 offensive passing team. Or number 9 offensive passing team, number 8 overall yardage. So, they can run a little bit as well, but they usually don't need to because they keep hitting big passes. Tough test here going to Baylor, but I like them to be able to get it done, man. I think they're going to be able to score points. Even though I like Baylor's defense, I like Oklahoma State's defense as well. So, we'll see how it goes, but I think it's going to be a good one, and I think Oklahoma State's offense will give them the slight advantage in the end. Both teams have really good against the spread trends, so I didn't feel the need to go over them because they would have helped either side here. So either way, mostly a gut play. I just think Oklahoma State, man, gets a nice victory here, continues their undefeated start. Another 3:30 kickoff and another top 25 matchup as we have number 2 Alabama laying 17.5 as they travel to number 20 Arkansas. Over-under on this game is 60.5. Now this line has bounced a little bit between 17 and 17.5. We got Arkansas 3-1 this season, 2-2 against the spread. Alabama 4-0 on the year, 3-1 against the spread. Last season, Arkansas went to Bama, and it was an absolute shootout in which Bama was able to hold on for the 42-35 victory. So this season, I'm expecting the game to be close again, especially being at Arkansas. They're going to be mad about that loss against Texas A&M last week, man. It still hurts for me, man. That field goal off the top of the upright, wild stuff, man. But I don't think Arkansas necessarily will win this game, but 17.5 is a lot of points. That is for sure. So we're going to have it as a straight play, man. Arkansas plus 17.5, man, against Bama. I definitely think it'll be somewhat of a good game. Definitely don't think it'll ever get to a point where Bama's just going to blow them out. I just don't see that happening. Arkansas's defense has kind of had a setback from last season where I think they have a corner that's out for the year. That hurt them a lot. But yeah, Bama, of course they have very good offensive ranks. Mostly, easy games to start the year, where Arkansas actually has played somewhat of a tough schedule. Not super tough, but tougher than Bama's, that's for sure. And, Arkansas does have one good defensive rank as they are the number 27 team in the country when it comes against the run. So Bama's going to have to air it out if they want to have a chance to cover 17.5. And, they might be able to, but at the same time, I think Arkansas's offense will be able to score enough points, man, to keep it within 17. Bama's D, very, very good. But Arkansas does have the number 8 rush offense in the country. So I'm hoping that they are able to run the ball well. KJ Jefferson, a solid QB, man, big body. He can move. I like when they design runs for him. Definitely gets the offense flowing, seems like most of the time. And as far as trends go, you got Bama only covered 1 of their last 5 on the road, and they've only covered 1 of their last 5 against SEC West opponents. Arkansas has covered 5 of their last 7 overall, and they've covered 4 of their last 5 at home. So like I said, man, it's just a lot of points, man. Good SEC matchup here. I like Arkansas to, be hungry. They're not going to be happy about that loss they had last week. Also, they were super close to beating Bama last year. So, now that they're in their house, maybe that helps give them an edge. So, yeah, I definitely like them to keep it within 17.5, man. Arkansas plus 17.5 is our straight play on this one. And looky here as we go to another 3:30 kickoff and yet another top 25 matchup, man. Lots of good games this week, that is for sure. So we got number 22, Wake Forest, getting 6.5 points as they travel to number 23, Florida State. Over-under on this game is 64.5. Florida State is 4-0 to start this season and 3-1 against the spread. Wake Forest 3-1 overall and also 3-1 against the spread. In the last matchup, it was last season as Florida State was only able to put up 14 points against Wake at Wake, who won 35-14. Expecting it to be quite different than that this year, man. Florida State looks like they are much better than they've been recently, looking a lot more like they did, in the early 2010s. But like the last 5-6 years, man, they have been very, very sketchy. But yeah, looking good, starting 4-0 this season. I believe that their quarterback is good to go. The last I heard, sounds like he should be able to play. I know he's been dealing with some injuries. But other than that, we got Wake Forest, man. They have the number 15 scoring offense. Florida State has the number 35 scoring offense, and Wake Forest has the number 93 scoring defense. And that is all reasons that I am going to be considering the over here, just in teasers. I was going to give it out as a straight play, but after seeing some the head-to-head trends in this matchup, they usually go under. As of late anyways, in the last, I think, 6 or 7 years, mostly unders. But I still like it, man, in this matchup, especially with how Florida State has been going this season. But yeah, I'm just going to consider it for teasers only. We'll get that 64.5 down to probably 58.5, maybe 57.5, 59.5, somewhere in that range. But I could see both of these teams hitting the 30s. So, I wouldn't hate taking this as a straight play, but I'm just not going to give that out officially. I also was considering taking Wake Forest and buying a point to get them plus 7.5. But this is just one that I just have a feeling about. That's mostly something I would take because I like Wake Forest much more than Florida State, just as a team in general. I don't know, Wake Forest, not known as a football program, have been good at times over the years, but for the most part, never as good as they've, been these last couple seasons. And, Florida State, man, I don't know. I don't like them. But that is a very tough place to go play. I don't think this game's been moved at all. I think most of the damage is down in southern Florida. So I think Tallahassee might be all right up there. I'm not sure if anything's came out about this game getting moved at all. That is one thing to key on when betting this weekend. Any games in Florida, man, you got to be careful if they're even going to get played or get moved to different locations or different days. And real quick, just thoughts and prayers, of course, to everybody out there. It's crazy that they're having to deal with that down there with the hurricane, man. It's absolutely insane, all the flooding. It's tough to see, man, and, just hope that everybody's all right and hope everybody's okay. And, thoughts and prayers to everybody involved in that. And, yeah, we'll keep going, though. Like I was saying, man, Florida State, that's a very tough place to go in and play at. So, their fans be going crazy, that is for sure. Both teams are good against the spread here. They both have good ATS trends as of late. Wake Forest over trends are 8-3 their last 11 on the road and 5 of their last 6 on the road. And it's also went over 5 of their last 7 following a straight-up loss and 8 of their last 10 against teams with winning record and 6 of their last 9 against ACC opponents. And Florida State's overs have went 4-1 their last 5 October games. Like I said, the head-to-head trends say under, but I think this Florida State team is much different than they've been the last few years. So, again, just going to throw it in teasers, man. I wanted to take it as a straight, but we'll go ahead and just say that's a teasers only one, man. Get it down to 58.5, somewhere around there. Another Florida game I want to mention real quick. We're definitely going to be on UCF. This game was originally scheduled for Saturday at 3:30, and it was moved from, I believe, Raymond James Stadium is where UCF usually plays. It had been moved from there up to, I don't remember where, but either way, it got moved from like South Florida up to like Central or more like Northern Florida. And then it got moved from Saturday to Sunday. And now when I went to look, it actually got moved again from Sunday to, I believe it's going to be Wednesday night now, October 5th. So I don't know if it's still counting as Week 5 games, the Week 6. Do they have matchups in Week 6? Or I don't know what's going to go on with their schedules there. So just know that I will be taking UCF in some sort of way here. Before it was taken off the books, UCF was laying 3.5, so I was definitely going to probably buy the point and take a -2.5 as the straight play. But I guess I'll just wait, and you'll have to see. We'll tweet updates on this game once we find out if it's for sure getting played Wednesday and all that good stuff, where it's going to be played at and whatnot. So either way, just know I will be on UCF in that matchup against SMU if that game gets played. Next up, a 4 p.m. kickoff. We got number 17 Texas A&M getting 3.5 points as they travel to Mississippi State. Both teams are 3-1 this season. Texas A&M is 2-2 against the spread, and Mississippi State is 2-1 against the spread. The over/under on this game is 44.5. The last matchup was last season as Mississippi State went to Texas A&M and got the victory 26-22. It was a good game. I think I remember watching that one, and I was surprised at the time. Thought A&M was going to get that victory in that one. And I'm thinking more of the same this year. Even though I was wrong last season, I think Texas A&M, much like our earlier pick with Oklahoma State getting their revenge at Baylor, I think Texas A&M now will return the favor here as they go into Mississippi State, and I think they will win this game. But since they're going to give us 3.5 points, that will be our straight play. Texas A&M plus 3.5 against Mississippi State. That is what we will be on officially. Just know I'll probably sprinkle them money line and a couple parlays as well. So Texas A&M's offense has not been looking good this season, and I have not liked what I've seen from them. And when I looked at their ranks in the country, it's just bad, man. I'm talking like around like 80th, 90th, 100th, and all the categories. Mississippi State's defense is okay. It's not great by any means, but not terrible. They're around middle of the pack when it comes to rankings. As far as Mississippi State's offense, they don't run the ball like at all. They're number 123 in the nation when it comes to rushing yards per game. But they do have the number 7 pass offense. But on the other side, I actually like Texas A&M's defense a lot. And that is my key to them being able to cover this 3.5 and possibly winning the game. So I think that it will be hard for Mississippi State to score points. Like the way I saw them play against LSU a couple of weeks ago, in which they looked very good early and then just could not do anything in that second half. That's what I'm expecting to see here against Texas A&M. I just don't think Mississippi State's going to be able to score enough to win by more than a field goal. And like I said, I think A&M wins, but since they're giving us those 3.5 points, we're taking them. But yeah, Texas A&M, like I said, I like their defense a lot. To counter that number 7 passing attack from Mississippi State, you have the number 10 pass defense for Texas A&M, so kind of cancels that out there. And Texas A&M trends look like this: 6-1 against the spread. Their last 7 against teams with the winning record. They've covered 5 of their last 7 against SEC opponents, and they've covered 5 of their last 7 in October. Mississippi State has only covered 3 of their last 11 October games, and they've only won 2 out of their last 12 straight up against the SEC West. And they've only won 2 out of their last 18 straight up in Week 5 matchups. So yeah, you're telling me they've only won 2 of their last 12 against the SEC West? That's tough. Of course, the West is the much better division in the SEC. So it's understandable, but that just helps us out, man. I'm not sure why Mississippi State's favored, honestly. I think if anything, it should be a pick 'em. Maybe A&M slightly favored, especially after getting that nice victory over Arkansas. I could see maybe if they went on to lose that game, maybe this line makes a little more sense, but I think it should be a pick 'em. Either way, man, we're on it. Texas A&M plus 3.5. Before we go over this last game, remember we do have more straight plays to give you, and I will list them all at the end. Just don't want to take too much time to go over so many games, man. Rather than going over 20 games, I'd rather just go over like 6 to 10, somewhere in there. A lot of the key matchups, man. And here's another key one, man. Not just top 25, but top 10 matchup. 7:30 kickoff as you have number 10, NC State, getting 6.5 as they travel to number 5, Clemson. Both teams are 4-0 this year. NC State 2-2 against the spread, and Clemson just 1-3 against the spread. The over/under on this went all over the place. It opened at 40.5, went down to 39.5, then shot up to 43.5, and now 44.5. So some weird movement there. Kind of upsets me that it's risen as much as it has, because as soon as I saw it at 40.5, my mind instantly said over. I was just like, over, I'm taking this over. It just seems like a game that I should take the over. But then when it shot up a few points, I'm like, all right, I'm kind of sketched out on it now. So I don't think I'm going to really mess with anything on the total since it's been bouncing around the way it has. It was definitely going to be on the over if it stayed around 40.5 or 39.5. But yeah, not going to mess with it now. Either way, we're actually going to go ahead and give our straight play real quick. We're going to be on NC State, buying a point to get them to plus 7.5. So I don't have the odds with me right now. I didn't feel like going through FanDuel. Every time I go look, they still don't have the alternate spreads up, which is super annoying. So, I could just go get them from DraftKings or whatever, but I've just been using FanDuel for the videos, and FanDuel's my favorite book, regardless of the fact that they just get the college football stuff up super late, other than, the base lines, which I get it. It's a lot going on, but you should have a big enough team to be able to have all that stuff good to go. That's besides the point. Let's get back to the pick, man. NC State plus 7.5, alternate line, wherever you can best get it at, whatever book, whatever works there for you. Shouldn't be any worse than like minus 130, maybe minus 135. Definitely not worse than minus 140, so definitely like that. Last season, NC State was able to get the overtime victory, 27-21 over Clemson. That, of course, was at NC State. That was a very good game. I remember watching it. And, of course, this time they are at Clemson. I still like it to be a close one, though. I think NC State definitely is able to keep it within a touchdown. NC State's offense is pretty average. Their ranks are slightly better than the middle of the pack. Not great in any way there, but they're all right. Clemson does have the number 10 rush defense, but the number 104th ranked pass defense, which surprised me a lot, man, because Clemson's D is always solid, even with the offensive struggles they've went through the last year and a half. Their D has always held strong, but number 104 against the pass had me very, very surprised. And yeah, that was enough to get me to where I think NC State could move the ball at least enough to keep this game close. I don't think it'll be super high scoring. I could see, like a 27-23, something like that, 24-20, somewhere in there. Either way, I think it's definitely within a touchdown game, either side. I think NC State could win this game. I love their defense, very, very good. Both against the run and against the pass. Pull this up here. Yeah, for NC State, its defensive ranks, they are 13th in the country in yardage allowed per game. Number 25 against the pass. Number 9 against the rush, only allowing 81 rushing yards a game. and 10th in points allowed a game. Just 11.8 points allowed. And the big one here for me is the takeaways. They've forced 7 turnovers as a unit this year. And that's in 4 games. So almost 2 every game. And I think DJ is the type of guy that could make a mistake in this game to help give NC State some momentum. So, whether it's a pick or he tries to scramble and is not careful with the ball and loses it, I think if NC State is able to force at least 1 turnover, then there's no shot that they don't cover this for us. And even if they don't force a turnover, I still think they could. But I like their defense, man, and I think they'll be able to definitely, be a main contributing factor in them keeping this game close. As far as trends go, we got NC State 6-0 against the spread following an ATS loss. They've covered 5 of their last 7 against teams with a winning record and 5 of their last 7 when playing at Clemson. And they've covered 5 of their last 6 against ACC Atlantic Division opponents. Clemson, on the other side, has only covered 1 of their last 6 games in October, only covered 2 of their last 10 at home, and only 2 of their last 10 following an ATS loss. And they've only covered 1 of their last 5 Week 5 matchups. So, yeah, man, Clemson does not like to cover. They do like to win, but they don't cover. And, yeah, most of the time the spread's larger than, 6.5, 7.5 points. But either way, I like this NC State team a lot. And, yeah, that's our official straight play, NC State plus 7.5. Alternate line there. And yeah, that's going to be the last game that we go over. I will, of course, go through our picks, recap them all. We'll recap the ones that we talked about, and then I'll also give out the rest of them, as well as some games that I will consider in teasers. So for our straight plays on Saturday, the ones we gave out, we got Texas Tech plus 7.5. Oklahoma minus 6.5. Oklahoma State plus 2.5. Arkansas plus 17.5. Texas A&M plus 3.5. And then we also went over for a teaser consideration with Kentucky plus 6.5, getting them up to plus 10.5 or 11.5. And also another straight play. I had it listed on the top there. Of course, we just talked about it. NC State plus that 7.5 there. And then the other teaser consideration that we talked about will be taking that Wake Forest and Florida State game over 64.5. Probably chop it down to like 58.5, maybe 57 or 59, somewhere in there. Just got to play with the odds and see what you can do there. But yeah. The other straight plays that we have that we did not go over, and remember, like I've said before, just any questions, comment below, or, hit us up on Twitter at ZoneInSports, link in the description. And I still have reasoning, I still do the studying, I still have everything that I need for all the other picks, just don't have all the time to go over everything. But the other straight picks that we have are Wisconsin minus 6.5 against Illinois. I definitely think that they'll be able to run the ball very well in this matchup, and I don't see Illinois being able to score a lot of points against the Wisconsin D, who got exposed last week against Ohio State. But, that's what can you do, man? I think they'll bounce back and be able to win by at least a touchdown, but I think they win by probably 2 or maybe even 3 scores against Illinois. Also, Army minus 6.5. Buying a point there. I believe they are minus 7.5 against Georgia State, but our official straight play on Army will be minus 6.5. Also going to buy a point here as we're going to move Maryland from minus 7.5 to minus 6.5. That's right, we got Maryland minus 6.5 against Michigan State. And we're going to go Kansas plus 3.5 against Iowa State. I believe this might have moved to a flat 3, and I'm still going to go with plus 3.5. If I got to take an alternate line, that's fine. There's no way it's going to be worse than like minus 120, minus 130. So yeah, Kansas plus 3.5 against Iowa State at home, man. I'm surprised they're giving them points, man. Kansas has been looking good this year, best they've looked in a long time. And I think they could possibly win this game. But I'm definitely going to be on them as a straight play plus 3.5. Also, Toledo minus 6.5 against Central Michigan. Definitely like them to bounce back here as they struggled last week against San Diego State. Tough loss, man, giving up the late touchdown. Was only able to score their 14 points all in the fourth quarter. I think Toledo's offense is hungry to score points like they usually do, and I think they'll be able to win by a touchdown for sure, maybe 2 against Central Michigan. Also, Washington State minus 3.5 against Cal. Definitely like that a lot. If Washington State can score 41 points against Oregon, I think they can score 41 against Cal. Even though Cal's D is, they're not bad at all. Like, they're a solid unit, but I liked Oregon's defense a lot, and last week they got throttled. They were lucky that Bo Nix was able to go crazy in that fourth quarter to come back to get that win. But either way, we're going to be on Washington State minus 3.5 there as they host Cal. And also here we got Western Kentucky minus 4.5 as they host Troy. Definitely think their offense will be able to put up a lot of points. Troy is a team that has been slightly improved this season, looking solid, but tough matchup for them here going to Western Kentucky. I think they will light up that scoreboard and be able to cover that 4.5 easily for us. And also remember, we will be on UCF, but for the official play on that, you'll have to follow us on Twitter as we'll update that throughout the week because that game has been moved. It moved locations first for Saturday, and then it was moved to Sunday, and now moved to Wednesday, October 5th. So, yeah, just follow us on Twitter to get the updates on that. And then we'll talk about our other teaser considerations. We talked about a couple already from the games that we went over with Kentucky plus 6.5, getting them up to 10.5, 11.5, and then Wake Forest, Florida State over, getting that around 58.5. The other ones I'll consider for teasers is Louisville minus 14.5 at Boston College. Just a 14.5 is just a crappy number, so I'll just get them down to like minus 9 probably. And Oregon State plus 10.5 at Utah. Oregon State lost a tough one, man, against USC late last week. They now go on the road. Utah, tough place to play. But 10.5 points is a lot. Like I said, this is just a teaser consideration, so you can get them up to plus 14.5, 15.5, wherever you feel comfortable with it. And, to know where we exactly put it at, just remember to check our Twitter for the parlays and teasers that we give out there Saturday morning. Another one, USF, that's Southern Florida, plus 8.5 against Eastern Carolina. USF looked pretty solid recently against Florida, man. Gave them a run for their money. And East Carolina, they looked bad last week. I think they ended up losing in overtime to Navy, was it? In a game that they definitely should have won, if you ask me. But, of course, this is another game. South Florida, I'm not sure if they have moved this game yet or not to a different location, or I don't know. As far as I know, it's still being played. I just don't know if USF is still playing at home, which would be very surprising if you ask me. And then another one, UNC, North Carolina, minus 8.5 against Virginia Tech. I think they win this game for sure. Like 100% chance North Carolina wins this game, especially after that ugly defeat against Notre Dame last week. They're going to want to bounce back and give the home crowd a much better showing. And like I said, this is just teaser consideration. We'll get them from minus 8.5 down to probably minus 2.5 or 3.5, or might even just take them like double result, something like that. And same thing here with South Alabama, minus 8.5. We'll most likely get them around 2.5, 3.5, or take them double result. They play at Louisiana. So remember what I said about Louisiana, team I was very high on going into the year. But I said to stay away from them and kind of watch what they do the next couple of games to see if they'll figure it out. But did they figure it out last week? No, not at all. They lost to UL Monroe. Terrible. So definitely don't know what to expect from them this season. Definitely like what I've seen from South Alabama so far. They They played UCLA very tough, lost on last-second field goal a couple of weeks ago. And, a team that I just think that has a pretty solid offense, and in this matchup, I'd like them to be able to, cover some sort of teaser play for me. One last thing I will go over will be our underdog money line sprinkles. This is something I will only do when there's enough that I like. I usually always like at least one or two underdogs each week to win outright. Of course, if you listen to our straight picks, I believe we're taking, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So looks like half of our straight plays are on the underdog, which I like that a lot, man. I don't like always being on the favorite. So, take the points where you can get them. But for some underdog money line sprinkles, I do like Kansas plus 126. Remember, these odds changing like crazy. I wrote these down a couple of days ago. Either way, Kansas plus 126, Kentucky plus 215, Texas A&M plus 158, South Florida plus 255, Tulsa plus 275. That is a game that I did not mention at all. They are playing Cincy. Oh, yeah, there's a couple other teaser considerations down here that I had written out the way, but Tulsa plus 9.5 against Cincy. They are at home, and I don't necessarily know if they will win this game, even though I just told you I will be sprinkling their money line plus 275. It's just very nice value. Cincy just obviously not the same Cincy from last season. I think Tulsa will be able to keep this game close. But like I said, just considering that plus 9.5 for teasers, we'll get that up to 13.5, probably 14.5. But also playing a money line and some underdog money line sprinkle. Might as well. And the one other teaser consideration was Pitt. They were minus 23.5 against Georgia Tech, but it's moved down to 21.5 now. I don't know if Slovis is still out. I don't even care if he is or not. I don't care if the fourth string quarterback plays. Georgia Tech is garbage. They can't score at all. I'll also consider taking their team total under. You'll have to check Twitter to see if we end up taking that play. It just depends what the number's at. It's probably pretty low. If it's like 13.5 or 14.5, I'll probably go ahead and take their team total under. But as far as the spread goes, we'll be considering Pitt 4 teasers, getting that 21.5 down to probably 16.5. Get them to win by at least 2 touchdowns and a field goal. Definitely feel comfortable about that, especially at home against a very, very bad Georgia Tech team. And that was actually it. One other underdog money line I had written down was Oklahoma State, but they're barely a dog, plus 114. But either way, might as well list it. So yeah, that is going to do it, man. Remember, any questions on any picks that I didn't go over, just comment below or ask us on Twitter at ZoneInSports, link in the description. Also check us out there. Follow us to see our parlays that we give out and teasers every weekend. And yeah, that's going to do it. Hope you guys enjoyed. Again, I'll try my best to get this out earlier, probably on Thursdays each week. And if it's Friday, then I'll aim for it to be more earlier in the day. I work during the day, so just didn't work out this week, man. But either way, I got it up. Hopefully you had enough time to see these. And if not, I put out the picks on Twitter anyway. So make sure you follow us over there, like I said. Appreciate a like on the video a lot. Thank you for even listening, all that good stuff. Subscribe to the channel if you have not already. And yeah, that's going to do it. Have a nice day. Let's make some money this weekend. Peace.